What's happening, listeners? It's pouring the rain, so we can't get out for a walk and talk. So we're just driving around and this rain, checking it out. Looks like there's a cop up ahead. Looks like they pulled somebody over, or somebody's wrecked or something. Oh, maybe somebody's having car trouble. They're helping load it. That's good. It's good to see cops out doing something good instead of extorting money out of people. Watching that stock market this morning. GameStop, boom, as of just a few minutes ago, was up 10%. That's probably close to $20, somewhere around in there. Given the last time I looked at it, around the 260 range. It was up $11 then. GameStop's probably up, probably 270 right now. I don't know. I haven't looked at it. Just got the alert on my phone. Watching Pirate Chain go up about 20% or 11% or something like that a while ago. It's really popped up. It was like $4 and something yesterday. Now it's up over $5.74 is the last alert I got. Monero, I bought in at the crash around 212. Last time I looked at it this morning was 283. It may have come down a little bit since then, but I haven't looked at it since. The importance of having cryptocurrencies, an extra store of value, or even just a different way to generate income. Look, so many people are out of jobs right now. And I know what you're saying. But Sean, everywhere I go, there's people hiring. There's jobs available everywhere, but people won't work. What's wrong? Why won't people work? Okay, let's think about this logically. Seen a sign the other day. McDonald's down around Gulf Shores, Alabama, starting out $13 an hour. Starting out. That sounds pretty good, especially in the Communist Republic of Kentucky, where I am. That's pretty good money, starting out. But can people live off that? Can they live off that? There is absolutely no way you could get a job making $13 an hour, working 40 hours a week, unless there was a lot of overtime and travel very far for work and make enough to provide for your family. A bag of groceries, a couple bags of groceries will cost you $200 now. $200. Yeah, my thing's broke. Fix it there. A bag of groceries, a couple bags of groceries cost you $200, especially if you buy any meat or anything healthy. If you buy a bunch of garbage, you buy a bunch of sugar and stuff like that keeps you unhealthy and overweight like I am, it's a whole lot cheaper. But to get the fresh fruits and vegetables, to get the meats that you need, the proteins for your body to make you healthy, the red meat for all the benefits of that, it's going to cost you some money. Jug of milk from where I work right now, the premium's like nearly $6 a gallon. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. That's a lot of money. If you're making $13 an hour after taxes, you might be able to buy 2 jugs of milk for every hour you work. That's crazy. Yeah, I do hold a holding company, and yeah, I do run my holding company, and yeah, I do work too. I work I work a full-time job too, so that I can keep all the funds in my holding company, keep rolling it over to make it bigger and bigger and bigger. And someday I try not to rob from it, so that someday it'll help support the future generation of my family. Somebody's got to make the sacrifice. Someone's got to, do the work. If you're not willing to do that, or let's just say I wanted to expand my living, grow my living standards, because I was making some money in the cryptocurrencies and the stock market, and I had extra cash flows coming in from the dividend stocks rolling over every month. I would be robbing not only my future self, but I'd be robbing the company of future earnings, and I'd be robbing my children and generations to come that'll take over the holding company of what it can do for them and provide for our family's future. So you've got to do the work, you've got to make the sacrifice. Somebody's got to make it. So that's my decision. That's my choice. But anyway, there's nothing wrong with working and running your business and your company at the same time, especially if you really want to grow that company as big as you can. I know there's Steve Jobs and those guys. A lot of them didn't have to, but they did. They worked for Atari, different companies, while they were building Apple. You don't always see that. I couldn't go out and borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars from my family to go out on my own. We're just going to grow this holding company right now. It takes time. It takes money. I got to generate enough money coming in to not only provide for my family, but also grow the company as much as I can in the process. So I don't use all my disposable income to live off of. I roll that over so that a lot of it goes into the company to grow it bigger and faster, because that's the goal. That's the primary goal, is to grow the company as big as you can. A lot of things are going on this morning with the markets being up. It's a pretty good day. Well, it's nice to wake up and your portfolio will be up quite a bit of money. But, the way the markets go, tomorrow you may wake up and you may be down quite a bit of money. And it happens. It happens a lot. But back to Monero. We bought in Monero about 215. We'd like to get some more before it hits 300. I'd say once it passes over 300, it's right back to 5, 6, or even higher. It could possibly. Jeff Berwick says in the next 3 years, it's going to $60,000. In 3 years, it's going to $60,000. Wow. Right now, I'm trying to buy all I can just because of that. Of course, I'm not diverting money away from my other holdings in the holding company. I'm just using cash that's sitting there on hand. You always want to keep a significant amount of cash on hand for crashes and stuff, because you want to have cash for those buying opportunities. You can keep it within a certain percentage, whatever you're comfortable with. Also, this is not financial advice. This is just education, entertainment. It's starting to rain a little bit harder. Talking about the last video about inflation coming. These gas prices are so crazy. Well, we were down there in Alabama we've seen gas prices as high as $5 a gallon nearly. It's like $4.98 or something like that. They're on the Florida-Bama line. There was one that was $8 a gallon, but my wife said that she thought there was a crew working on the sign while we were passing by, and that wasn't a real price. That was just a fluke with them trying to work on the prices. Also, while we were down there, there was all kinds of gas stations that were sold out at $5 a gallon. And a lot of them that still had up signs for $3 a gallon, they were completely sold out. They hadn't even changed their sign because they didn't have any gas. I don't know what's going on there, because most of your gas, oil, and stuff like that comes from out of the Gulf down there, so it shouldn't be a supply chain or a pipeline issue causing that. Don't necessarily know what the reason for that would be, but you're thinking about $13 an hour. Before gas prices rose, it was costing me $100 a week, $97 to go back and forth to work for a week. So I've lost. So let's say if I made $10 an hour, which I don't, I make more than that. But say I made $10 an hour, and it's costing me $100 a week just to go on gas. I'm working 1 day and 2 hours on an 8-hour shift just to pay my gas. Most of the time we work 10 to 12, which means I'm working nearly a day or a part of a day just to pay my gas at $10 an hour. Let's say you're making $13 an hour. Well, let's do the math on that. You're still working the biggest part of your day just to pay your gas. You're not even really, you're probably working more than that because of taxes. Because they're going to get all those taxes out of you, all that they can. And get ready, it's going up. Yippee. More taxes, more extortion. And a lot of people may get mad at me for saying that, because they think, oh, you got to pay taxes, we got to have our military, we got to do this, we got to do that. And yeah, I'm all for the military. I have my son was in the National Guard, and there's been Davis or a family member in every war all the way back to the Civil War that we can follow. So I am pro-military. I don't agree with the politicians. I don't agree with just going in there and taking over poppy fields or whatever things they do. I don't know. I don't know what the ins and outs are of that. So they need money for black ops operations, so they do these things, or people say they do these things. Who knows? Who knows what's true in this world anymore? I sure as heck know. I don't have a clue what's true. Now, one thing, there's a logging crew down here on the lake. They're doing quite a bit of logging. You'll see it here as I come through. See some logs on the side through the windows. It's hard to imagine them turning a blacktop road down here in the Lake subdivision into a log yard. You'll be able to see the lake over my shoulder. That blue, it's not the sky, that's the lake down below me. What's going on with people? Why are people not wanting to work? Everybody's saying, oh, it's because they're getting all this stimulus money, they're getting all this unemployment. There may be some people getting some unemployment right now, but most of that stuff is expired. And the stimulus money, $800, $1,200 here or there, which I do not agree with. by the way. It's just like borrowing trillions and trillions of dollars and saying, okay, well, here's you a little cut for going along with it, is all that was. You know, we'll give you a little some crumbs, you know, while we borrow huge amounts of cash from the Federal Reserve and blow up our national debt even more, what we owe them. And if you understand the Federal Reserve System, you know that's what we have to do. We have to do it, you know, to stay afloat. It's a debt-based economy. It's a debt-based system. You've got to do it. There's no choice. You know, there's no paying off the national debt. As much as you'd hear politicians say that, hopefully everyone knows and understands more than that. The significance of a debt-based economy. The fact that we have to borrow money from the Federal Reserve and then pay them back with their own cash at interest. That's the way the whole thing works. If you understand guns and butter, you need to understand that too. But I think it's a lot of hyperinflation. Warren Buffett talked in the Berkshire annual meeting about business is going to be impacted by significant inflation. Well, he was using a strong term there, significant inflation. Why would he say significant inflation? Because he's trying to tell the people hyperinflation is coming. This is my opinion. I think he was trying to tell people hyperinflation is coming. But if he said the words hyperinflation, there'd be a run on the banks, there'd be a run on the stock market. I mean, it would have been crazy. So he tried to water it down by emphasizing significant inflation. I think he was also trying to prepare his shareholders for the fact that there's going to be significant inflation, and that there's going to be a loss of profits. You know, they're probably not going to make as much money next year as what they did this year. They're probably going to be they may even go in the red a little bit. You know, they may not. The cost of operating may hurt them. But then in the lumber industry, where he has so many houses being built, I mean, you know, he has, I think, 8 or 9 different home builders, not counting Clayton Homes, the largest manufacturer of mobile homes in the United States. Anyway, maybe the world, I don't know. You know, he may make a profit there. He may be able to ride up some of those costs with that hyperinflation. That's also a good reason why to be in the stock market. Everybody's predicting a stock market crash, but you need to look at what happened in Venezuela when hyperinflation hit. You didn't have a stock market crash. You had a stock market blow up. I mean, the stock market went sky high. And the reason for that was, as your currency hyperinflates, so does the value of assets. Assets hyperinflate right along with them. Now, I don't understand the significance of all that because I've not been through it. I've not lived through it. But if your stocks are hyperinflating at the same rate as your currency is hyperinflating, if your cost in goods and services are hyperinflating at the same time, you know, you don't want to be in cash, completely in cash. You want to have enough cash, you know, to take advantage of opportunities, but you don't want to have your whole store of value just in cash. Because if you have your whole store of value just in cash, it's eroding at a crazy rate. You know, as food costs are going up, energy costs are going up, gas prices, you know, right in there with energy. asset prices, home values, everything is just going through the roof. That means that your dollar is buying less and less and less. So you need to take that dollar as fast as you can get it, cover your cost of living, keep you some for emergencies and for buying opportunities, and then you better be turning as much of it into assets as you can. What kind of assets? Cryptocurrencies, stocks. Is growth stocks a good investment right now? I don't know. I don't know if growth stocks are a good investment. I know they're going up like crazy, but if Biden gets all of his taxes on it, how will you ever sell them? What good will it do you? Be up 500 or 600%, and not even be able to do anything with it. That's why I like dividend paying stocks. I like monthly paying dividend stocks. I want it to roll over as fast as it can. I want to get my money back out of it. I want to roll that snowball. I want them to pay me for owning them. Mr. Wonderful says, I don't own a stock if it doesn't pay me to own it. If I'm going to own it, it's got to pay me something. That's what an asset is. It pays you something. But yet we all know he bought Tesla, because the son works there. Which is okay. If that's what he wants. Tesla seems to have been one of the best investments in a long time. I missed that, by the way. I missed that completely. I missed it completely. Let's talk about back to the point again. Is why were people going to go to work with all these jobs out there? Why are they going to go trade their time for $13 an hour? For $13 an hour when they're when it doesn't cover the cost of living. That's going to be a very, very serious thing in the future. Let me fix this camera. There we go. That's going to be a very, very serious thing. They are not going to be able to get help at those rates. They're going to have to raise their price. They're going to have to raise their pay per hour, or they're not going to get a significant lot of people coming in there looking for work. The days of minimum wage and working for $4 an hour and still being able to pay your mortgage, buy groceries for your wife and kids, yourself, make a vehicle payment, have enough gas to go back and forth to work, maybe enjoy a little bit of entertainment once a week or every other week, take your wife and kids to the movie or whatever on minimum wage. Those days are gone. Those days are over. And they're not coming back. And the reason why is they're printing so much money. They're borrowing so much money with the stimulus and all this other stuff. They're doing it themselves. It's like they're getting to the end of the road and they're like, well, let's just blow the system up. Let's just have one big party before it all goes out. I don't know what they're doing, but it seems that way. So what's the answer for business owners? How are you going to get work? It brings me back to what Henry Ford said back when he kind of revolutionized the car industry. He brought about the 8-hour work day. He paid higher wages than everybody else. And what was his reason for that? Henry Ford said, I pay the best wages, offer the best benefits, because I want to attract the best workers. If you don't do that, you're going to get the mediocre workers. You've got to pay the best wages. You've got to give a work-life balance to employees. Times are stressful. with the COVID pandemic and everything else that they've done. Times are stressful. People have been locked in their homes, been locked away. People need a little life. They need a little enjoyment. They need a little happiness. It's amazing that the suicide rates haven't been even higher than what they are. It's amazing that, heart attacks and strokes and everything else isn't on the rise just from the stress levels. I hear about some places working their workers 7 days a week. Well, you can do that for a while. You can work 7 days a week. But you got to have a break every once in a while. Even growing up on a farm, we worked 7 days a week a lot. My dad still works 7 days a week to some extent. You gotta tend to the cattle every day. You got, tend to the chickens every day. So he still works 7 days a week a lot. But he also has a break. He has some time away from it. And if you don't have that time away from it to recharge, reset, and refocus, you're going to burn out. There's so many people walking away from jobs because they're never getting a break, never getting time with their family. It's almost like China. I was investing in this company in China, and they said they went in there and their women were crying. Their women and their child, because they had one child policy, Their women and their child was standing outside the fence crying because they never seen their husbands, because they go into these factories and they would never see them again. They would work them till they died. They worked them pretty much around the clock. They shared like little dormitory rooms with somebody else. One worker climbed out of the bed while another worker climbed in the bed. They ate, they slept, they drank, they showered. Everything they did there. And they never seen their families again. Their family just got their check. Whatever was left over, because a lot of times they had to pay for the rooms and the food out of their paycheck. So whatever was left over was sent to their wives and kids. And it's just crazy. And that's what we're going to see here, I'm afraid. They're already starting to convert prisons over to this system, which they should have years ago. I agree. They should have done this years ago, not just let them sit in there, at an average cost of $50,000 a year to every U.S. taxpaying citizen. They should have done something like this years ago for them. But we're not talking about prisoners here. We're talking about free people. I don't know if you could say Chinese are free people, but people that's not broken any laws, that are just having to do this just to survive and feed their families. Not too long ago, we seen a bunch of people working for Apple over there in China, jumping off the rooftops and killing themselves because they had no life. They had no escape from it. They had no time to recharge their batteries or enjoy life. They were basically trying to make them like robots, which is part of the Rockefeller school system. The Rockefeller was trying to, bring up a whole generation of just workers, not thinkers, just smart enough to do what they're told to do, just smart enough to operate the machinery, just smart enough to take orders. That's why they dump all the fluoride in their water too, to make it submissive. Dumb us down, make us complacent. That's why they're putting all this estrogen into men, getting rid of their testosterone. So we're weak and insignificant. It's all part of the one world order. You hear the New World Order, and that's what the New World Order is. It's forming the one world order. You know, where you have, like the Baphomet, you have one sex. You know, the Baphomet is a goat, a dude, and a woman all in one hideous satanic thing. The image, anyway. I doubt the thing really exists. Or at least I hope it doesn't. But that's their idea. That's what they want. They want one gender, one religion, one currency, one world. And there's some aspects of that are okay. You know, I'm kind of for borderless countries in a way. Especially when you think about them putting up walls to keep all the tax slaves in. That's what we are. We're tax slaves. That's nothing more than tax slaves. Workers and tax slaves. But when you build a bunch of walls to lock everyone in, that's a scary thing. That's very scary. And you may say, well, why would they do that? Well, because they got to have that money. They got all these taxes that's got to be, or all this interest that's got to be paid back to the Federal Reserve. So they do that. That's why cash flow is so important. You got to have that cash flow during this hyperinflation times. You got to have that cash growing so that you can work, take that money and grow it even faster. Crazy times. But if you think about how they're locking people down in Canada and beating the crap out of them for like little kids playing hockey, that's when I think borderless worlds will be okay. Because if that crap comes to America, we can fight for a little while if we have to, but we won't fight long because there's not enough men left to fight. The men are all weak sissies. I mean, not all of them, but there's a lot of weak sissies out there. You know, they've feminized them. They've, you know, got them on all unnatural. You know, we're in the middle of Pride Month or whatever. They've pumped all these guys up. They've robbed them of testosterone. They've pumped them full of estrogen. And they've weakened them down. And, you know, then they push this gay crap on them, this unnatural gay crap. Because that does a lot of things for them. That pushes the New World Order, you know. It also stops procreation because a dude and a dude can't make a child, you know. It also makes them very unsuccessful because they don't have a wife working beside them. And it's true what they say, behind every great man stands a greater woman, you know. Look at Proverbs 31, you know, the parable of the wife there, you know, how she labored to make sure her family was taken care of. You know, she gave her alms to the poor. She, you know, she worked. She made sure her family was dressed. She made sure her family was fed. And then she also was charitable. You know, and when the men in the gates would see her husband walking by, they would honor him because of such a great wife as his. You don't see the promotion of family anymore. You see the dissolution of family. Stuff like honor your father and honor your mother is out the window. You just don't hear about it. It's really sad. But that's what they're wanting for us. That's what they're bringing to us. All these things. All these agendas they got going on. Where they're going to rob us of our land. If you haven't looked at Agenda 2030, you need to be looking at it. This Coinbase thing really pushed that agenda along. They're telling farmers now even that rainwater on their own property is not theirs. Some lady in Oregon, I think, was fined and put in jail because she was catching rainwater on her property, for drinking. Well, that's two things. And if she's doing that, she's getting fresh water, and she's not drinking the fluoride. So that's, got to get on the fluoride. But, there's things going on in the world that we really need to be paying attention. Like I'm shutting down all the businesses and stuff. Most business owners are so fed up with it now that they pretty much all open back up. I know in our area when they said, "Oh, you can't have them inside." Most of your restaurants and stuff that didn't have drive-throughs, they just started popping up tents everywhere and saying, "Hey, come on in and eat." And that's how they survived. And my wife and I was in a position where we could go to those restaurants and support them financially. We could go eat their food because we were in a shape that we could help them out. And we hated to see those business owners lose out. Plus, we supported what they were doing. Anytime the system tries to stop you, remember, you can always find a way around the system. There's always a way around. There's always a loophole to get through. Same thing with cryptocurrencies. I talk a lot about Monero because Monero is, it's untraceable. Especially if Biden really does do this 49% or 89% tax on cryptocurrencies. You don't want him tracking and taking everything that you've earned. It's crazy. It's extortion. It's like, why even bother? And that may be what a lot of people's thinking right now, working too, or not working. The reason why a lot of these places can't get people to work, it may not just be because the wages that they're offering is way too low. Is so much lower than a livable wage, and this significant inflation, as Warren Buffett calls it. But maybe it's got something to do with the fact that a lot of people's given up. If the big corporations don't take all my money, the government's going to. If you could draw, a few $100s a month tax free, without having to work every living minute to pay your taxes, maybe they would be more encouraged to work. My father said something the other day. He said, "It beats all I ever seen. I never seen a time like this, where no one wants anything more." Used to, people worked their job and they done a side job or they started a side business because they wanted something a little more. He said, you don't see that nowadays. Everybody's just content and happy with what they got. Well, I for one's not just happy and content with what I got. I'm trying to build for myself, for my future family, for generations of Davises that's not even been born yet. And what I do right now will be significant over the next 50 years. Every decision I make will be significant, not only for myself, who I probably won't be here in 50 years, but if I am, I had a lot of relatives, a lot of grandparents, great-grandparents living to their 90s, so I could possibly be here in another 50 years. But it'll be really significant for my grandson and for my other grandchildren that will come, for my children. Every decision that you make will be significant for your children and for your life and for your grandchildren. The Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance for his children and his children's children. But nowadays, today, it's like everybody's just like, give me what I can get. Let me have what I can have. And the heck with the future, they'll tend to themselves. I believe when I stand before the Lord, He will judge me based on that. Was you a good steward? Did you take what the Lord gives you? And did you grow it? Look at the parable of talents. Everybody thinks, oh, it's talent. Well, this guy could juggle or sing. That's not what it's talking about. A talent is currency. It's money. It's the money they use in that day. The Lord gave them talents, and they grew them. And the one that just took the talent and did nothing with it and buried it, the Lord come back. He's like, you're wicked. You didn't do anything with it. You didn't do anything with what I gave you. And I believe we'll be judged on that. You've got to take what the Lord gives you and grow it. You got to. Not only for this life, but for the next. Now, does that mean that if you don't have money, you're not getting into heaven? No, that ain't what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that the Lord has given us instructions. And if we read it, take it to heart, follow through on it, He'll bless us for it. Take a lot of people not wanting to do much. Where are they going to be in the judgment? Where are they going to be when the system shuts down?